Hey, this is Kirk Hilliard.
It's Rusty Bird. It's the Kirk and Bird Show, and we are back. It's football season. This is our
Woo!
favorite time of year. And so we've got with us today one of the winningest coaches in VHSL history, three-time state champion, Stonebridge head football coach Mickey Thompson. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh yeah, we really appreciate you being up here. It makes us look kind of legit.
You're legit.
Woo!
Yeah, so you can please subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. We're on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And if you want to listen to audio, we're going to give you analysis that nobody else does, not the local newspapers. Go to Audible, Spotify, Google, Apple. We're on all those. We'd love to hear from you.
Woo! Good stuff. Coach, tell us. So real quick, before we get into this year, tell me your thoughts on last season. I mean, you only lost 2 games. They were to the Class 5 and Class 6 state champions. And you always play a tough schedule. You have some great teams. Year after year after year, you guys just keep reloading. But tell me your thoughts about last year.
Well, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. It was a rough start, and then I was pleasantly surprised where we were at the end of the year. And then I was pretty disappointed with the way we finished because I drank the Kool-Aid by the time we got to the end, because I was impressed at how far we'd come, how much guys were getting better. And we really struggled at just trying to find our way at quarterback, because we had our returning quarterback hurt. We played Brandon Pena, who's the starter this year. He didn't get much help. He was trying to find his way. Then we threw Zeke over there, and we never got in a rhythm at quarterback, and we just tried to get by. And I think it hurt us, hurt our consistency on offense. So we didn't get off to a good start against Highland, and we had a battle back, and we made a run at it. And I'm proud of what we did, but by the time we got to the end, I thought we were back in a groove again and had a shot.
But still, I thought you guys had a great season. Tell us a little bit about this year's team. Tell us, you can however you want, about your offense, your defense, and we want to know about your special teams.
Well, I think it gets reversed. Last year we came in with a young offense. We had a lot of defensive returners, so it was a matter of the offense catching up to the defense. And it's pretty much a role reversal this time. We're got a lot of returning guys on offense. It arguably, on paper, it could be one of the best offenses we've had. They still have to play together. They still have to perform. And then on the defensive side, we're trying to piece it together and figure out where guys go. And that's the struggle right now, trying to figure it out. We're actually trying to figure out how to keep our guys in a kind of 2-platoon system.
Okay.
Until we get towards the end of the year, because we don't like to play guys both ways early. And then as the season goes on, if the young guys haven't developed and we're not in the place we want to be, then we start going to 2-way guys. But, just trying to figure out where everybody fits, especially with the early schedule. We need to play well early, or we could be in a major hole early, which doesn't bother me. But, you always wonder, after all these years, are the kids going to stay behind you, and are they going to battle a little adversity if they lose a few?
Right.
They're not really used to that, and that's a strong possibility even if we play well.
Coach, your schedule,
oh my goodness,
is incredible. Like, I've heard a lot of talk about some of the teams around the state. We've heard people talking about Highland Springs, Maury's schedule, Freedom Woodbridge, but when I look at yours, and you've got Good Counsel, QO, you got Quince
Martinsburg, Madison.
My goodness, Coach, like this Martinsburg, like this, and again, you're playing Madison. Like, when I know you do this, you definitely plan to do this. You played Freedom Woodbridge last 2 years. Do you think there's ever a downside to a difficult schedule? Because I see it being very positive, but is there ever a downside?
Well, you have to have the community behind you. You have to have the kids behind you, because you never know getting off to a rough start. I feel like after all these years, we don't have to. We know what we got. We know who we are. And if there's some adversity early, it's a good thing. I don't necessarily want that kind of schedule. It's more of a looking for tougher teams, and then the problem of finding anybody else to play. So we ended up being a little bit tougher than what I would have, probably liked.
Right.
but we couldn't find people. And then, we had our original people who we won a couple of tough games, and then all of a sudden we can't find any other games, but those, so we took them. So it
So,
sounds
Coach,
good. It sounds like I'm looking for them, but I'm not really looking that hard. That kind of
But no,
schedule.
but part of the problem is you're so good, it's hard for you to get games. And that's probably, I know that's the case with these other teams. But we're as fans and media, we get the benefit of enjoying it,
Right.
Coach, something of note that I wanted to bring up is, so you're going to have a bus ride, Route 9 going through Charlestown to Martinsburg. That team laid 54 points on you 23 years ago. That is the most points ever scored against you. These kids weren't alive then, but do you remember that?
Oh, I remember it. Oh, yeah.
I know you do.
We didn't have any seniors either. That was our first year.
That's right.
And we went to Martinsburg, and, we're playing one of the top teams in the state of Virginia. And I really didn't realize that when it was on the schedule. And then we're going up there and playing them, and we don't even have any seniors, and we're just opening up. I remember it was 28 or 35 nothing a half. And I remember going in the locker room. I still remember those guys in the locker room, like they had no idea what hit them, because a lot of them had no varsity experience. And it was like, we're fine, believe in us. You had to, it was a different kind of speech at that halftime.
Yeah. Now, Coach, you mentioned the switch. You've got 3 of 5 on the offensive line. You've got a big offensive line. And I know the last couple of years this is a big offensive line. Dave Rodello is a returning junior, was all first team All-State. You got Christian Evans, Caden Zalaki. You've got a great offensive line, and then you've already talked about the offensive weapons. So you've got a transfer. It's Naeem is coming in from what is it, Christ the King in Brooklyn,
Yes, New York. Yes.
Yeah, you've got Gabriel G. I mean, you've got Jordan Kaiser, Troy Marquez. You had a lot of weapons. That base offense that you run, one of the things that, that base single wing, you can do a lot of things and run it out of that. And that second series that Brandon Pena played, I was impressed with his arm strength. But we can talk about the defense in a second. But when you say this, you've got the chance to this to be one of the best offenses. You have some unbelievable offensive players that have gone on to play, in wonderful big time colleges. What do you see out of that base wing T as far as running, passing, and how you're going to use those weapons? Because you've got multiple.
Well, right now, just in a scrimmage, we're pretty much just straight spread, working on the spread game, which is in my opinion, is when it's with a single wing, it's a change up, just like the single wing becomes a change up. Now, you're running 2 basic offenses, and people have to prepare for both of those. That keeps people off balance, and then having the weapons that these kids can play in both systems and perform in both systems without having to sub. That's going to be a big thing for us. So, what we saw in the first scrimmage was really vanilla. We'll start mixing it a little bit more the next scrimmage, and then we'll be 2 full systems in for the first game. And, then you go into the game and which system you're going to use the most, and how you're going to do it, and how you're going to, personnel and all that kind of stuff. That's when it becomes fun, especially with those weapons that they can do a lot of different things.
What on offense? What about new players? Because you've got a lot of players that have been in the program. You've got G, Colquitt, Sean Robertson, Naeem, and I've heard some really good things about Nate Moorhead. But who are some of the players? Troy Marquez and Tyson Miller are great players, and Jordan Kaiser, I think he could be an X factor. But who are some of the players that I haven't mentioned?
Well, Furkan Trabuk is easily our next great offensive lineman. So we have 3 college offensive linemen, which you rarely have. I mean, and we have a 4th that is emerging. And then we have Gavin Harrison, who is really a special athlete. Now, he had an injury the other day in the scrimmage. I don't know the status of that yet, but he is really a special. His emergence, everybody will know his name before this is over with. He's 6'5". He can move. He can run. He's a definite college prospect, and he's been in the system and coming up. And he's a guy that everybody's talking about. We have Will Cross also, who plays tight end. He's going to play defensive line for us. That's another name. And then Joey Johnson, who's a sophomore, is going to play a lot of blocking back. We haven't had a blocking back tight end like that in a long time. And
Like
he's a
6'4",
sophomore.
isn't he?
Yeah. So
Well,
those are
Wow.
he didn't dress for the scrimmage, right?
no, he had a
Blonde-haired
concussion.
kid?
Yeah. Mhm.
I've heard good things about him.
So
And
those are the, I mean, on the offensive side, those are the names. And then we have Chase Skeeter at corner and Tristan Putnam at safety. Those two guys are kind of emerging along with our returners. We got Jonathan Newton, a linebacker, college prospect, really good player. Miles plays safety for us.
right.
John Robinson has moved over to corner from receiver last year. He's a really great corner. And then of course Nate Moorhead, he holds up our D line. So all those guys are returning.
Yep.
And then the one guy on defense that's kind of stood out is Charles Robinson.
Okay.
He's a corner safety guy. Now he's going to be an edge guy, kind of an outside
Oh, wow.
linebacker. I'm excited about him. But those are some of the new names along with some of the older names. But, and it's one of those things. Are we going to buy in? Everybody thinks they're working hard and they're not. And that's the biggest thing you have. And, they come to practice every day and they do work, but they got another level that they can go to and they don't know it. And it's my job to make sure that they realize that there's another level of play and another level of work that they can go to. And if we can get them there, we're going to be a tough squad.
Coach, I want to ask you about Miles Turpin. I mean, he's going to be your primary kick returner and punt returner.
Correct.
Okay. So before we ask you how to define what will be a successful season, we always get a kick out of this with you, whether or not you be playing on Thanksgiving, or practicing on Thanksgiving. But can you see if things going well in Class 5? You've got Highland Springs gone. You'll be facing teams like LC Byrd, great school down there, Midlothian. But if things are going well and you're going to be battle tested, could you see maybe Miles going both ways? Maybe some of your players going both ways. I know that there may be some, because of your inexperience, you may have some guys going both ways. What do you see with that?
Well, right now, Miles will be playing quite a bit both ways. I mean, he'll be, he's our next quarterback also. If something happens to Brandon Pena, he'll be going in. He'll be playing receiver right from the get-go, just maybe a handful of plays. But yes, Jonathan Newton, he's another really good football player. He's got a toe injury. He's been out. When he gets back and he gets more comfortable at linebacker, we're going to use him more on offense. So there's a lot of plans down the road. And you really kind of, because of the schedule, you want to get it started early, but you got to resist that temptation and just go with it and let these young kids play against some exceptional talent on these other teams and see what happens.
Yep. Special teams. You had a great kicker last year. How about your kicker punter? I understand you had a new kid doing that.
Yeah, Connor McLaughlin, and
right.
He was, he split time with Dylan last year and all the practice kicks and all that. So he's gotten a lot of kicks. His kickoffs were close to Dylan's this past year, and his timing on extra points, that's all we got to get down. And I don't know if we'll miss much of a beat in the kicking game.
Great. Okay.
Cool. So, like, as we go ahead and wrap this up, Coach, Kirk kind of touched on how would you define a successful season in 2023? At the end of the year, what would you look back at and want to have hoped to have achieved?
Well, I mean, it all comes down to, I mean, it's whether that trust is developed. Are they doing what they've been coached to do? I mean, what we found out in the first scrimmage, what you always find out, is all the stuff that you worked on in practice, none of them did it. They got in the game, they got carried away at the game, they just wanted to hit people. And instead of doing it the way we taught it, now it's like, all right, let's backtrack, let's teach it. Let's do the same thing, that same aggressiveness, but with a technique. And that's the biggest thing, is they believe in the system and try to work within the system. And that's that team unity and all that. Whether we can get that, and it, if you're in game 4 and 5 and you're starting to get it, or game 4 and 5, you're still fighting for it, you're probably in trouble. So game 4 or 5, I could tell you how it's going to end. And no matter what the record is, it's just whether we're starting to believe in what we're doing. And that's the value of the games that we played early. You have success early, people buy in early. You don't have success early, will they still buy in? And what you hope is that the track record will be the buy-in, not the first 4 games and the outcomes of the first 4 games.
So I was going to just say, Coach, we know you have a good team, solid, and maybe taking whatever the results are. But if you get into the 7, game 7, game 8, and you feel good about this team. Can this team win the state championship? Can they go to ODU? You got some tough people down there with Green Run. Kings Fork is now in 5. Maury is loaded with some transfers. And I'm not asking you to say we're going to win the state championship, but do you have a feeling that this team can be special and get you your 4th state championship?
Well, I would be disappointed if we weren't there.
Good.
But I can honestly say that every year. I mean, we've been, I think it's 17 in or 15 in whatever years, 25 years.
Right.
We've been to 15 of them. So we should be there. And we hope to be there. And we have the ability to be there, but you got to stay healthy.
Yep.
And you got to come together as a team.
Yeah, and that's why it's special, and you've already done it 3 times. Before we let you go, Rusty, I'm going to let you take us out, but I just wanted to point out, I know the Stonebridge folks know this, but Coach Thompson has 327 wins, 253 in 23 years at Stonebridge, 71. That's over 320 wins. 15 regional championships, 11 state title appearances for Stonebridge in 23 years. For the rest of Northern Virginia, if you don't know how special that is, it is unbelievably special. Coach, I was at commencement. I think your valedictorian or whatever said you were the winningest coach in Virginia. She gave you about 180 victories over Mike Smith. We're looking forward to seeing you this fall and looking for great things on your team. It's always fun. Once we reach November and we start seeing how these teams gel, I think Stonebridge has got a great shot. Maury should be in the state championship loaded, but they've got Green Run and Kings Fork, and you've got to get through, a tough schedule this year, and you're half the draw.
So,
Yep. Well, look, Coach, thank you very much again for joining us and giving us this great preview. I know the Kirk Byrd Show fans are going to appreciate this. We're going to make it out to a couple of games this year. But again, we wish you well. We wish you nothing but success. We're looking forward to seeing you, your players. And I love your approach to the season. I'm looking forward to seeing your team develop. So thanks again for joining the show. For my partner, my co-host Kirk Hilliard, and for Coach Mickey Thompson, this has been the Kirk and Byrd Show. We are out.